Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this fascinating research paper, Sample, Scrutinize, and Scale, Effective Inference Time Search by Scaling Verification.
Okay.
And basically what he's talking about is this idea of sampling-based search in language models. And it's really about,
Hmm.
I guess the best way to put it is it's like giving the AI extra thinking time,
Oh,
Instead of just going with the first solution that it comes up with.
okay.
It can actually explore multiple different approaches and then really scrutinize each one before making a decision.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that they're finding that this can actually significantly improve the reasoning ability of even large language models, sometimes even surpassing the performance of models that are specifically designed for complex reasoning tasks.
Yeah, it's really fascinating what they found is that by giving these AI models a little bit more time to think, they can actually outperform models that were specifically built to do these complex reasoning tasks.
That's pretty surprising. I mean, you'd think that more options would just lead to more confusion, right?
Well, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But that's not what they found. They actually discovered that scaling up both the search part, which is generating multiple solutions, and the verification part, which is double-checking each solution,
Okay.
actually led to significant improvement in accuracy.
So they're basically throwing a bunch of solutions at the wall and seeing what sticks. But how do they ensure that the AI is picking the best solution and not just any random one that happens to work?
Yeah, so that's where the scrutinized part comes in. What they found is that as you increase the amount of scrutiny that the AI applies to each solution, the accuracy just keeps getting better.
Okay.
And this even continues to improve when they really push the compute resources way beyond what other methods can handle.
So more solutions, more scrutiny equals smarter they are. I'm starting to see where this is going. But how exactly does this scrutiny work? Do they give the AI some special training in critical thinking?
Not necessarily. What they found is that the AI can get better at this verification process just by having more good solutions to compare to. It's a pretty surprising finding. They call it implicit scaling.
So you're saying that more options actually make it easier to pick the right one. It seems kind of counterintuitive, right? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, and the haystack keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, but think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to judge the quality of a painting. If you've only ever seen a few kind of mediocre paintings, you don't really have a good sense of what makes a truly great painting.
Okay.
But if you've seen hundreds of paintings ranging from terrible to masterpieces, you develop a much better eye for quality.
So by giving the AI more solutions to compare, it's almost like giving it a wider range of experiences to learn from.
Exactly.
It starts to see the nuances, the difference between a good solution and a truly great one.
And what's really interesting about this is that it suggests that as language models get more sophisticated and they generate even better reasoning,
Okay.
this verification process is actually going to become even easier and more accurate.
So it's like a positive feedback loop. The better the AI gets at associating good reasoning,
Right.
the better it gets at verifying its own reasoning.
It's a really exciting finding.
That's pretty amazing. So we're talking about not just finding the right answer, but understanding why it's right and being able to recognize the qualities of a truly good solution.
Yeah.
But how did the researchers actually make the AI a better self-critic? Did they find any specific tricks that help with this verification process?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the key tricks they found was the power of comparison. So by comparing different solutions side by side, the AI could more easily spot where errors were.
So instead of just looking at one solution in isolation, it's about looking at multiple solutions and seeing how they differ.
Right. It's like when you have multiple drafts of an essay and you can see where you've made improvements and where you're still struggling.
That's a great analogy. And is there anything else they found that helps with verification?
Well, they also discovered that the way that the AI expresses its reasoning for generating an answer might not actually be the best way for verifying that same answer.
Interesting. So it's not just about what the AI says, but how it says it.
Yeah,
It needs to learn how to communicate its reasoning in a way that's easy to verify,
right.
like maybe using more precise language or following a specific logical structure.
It's kind of like needing a lawyer to present a convincing case, even if you figured out the solution on your own.
Oh, I see. So it's about making sure that the reasoning is presented in a way that makes it really clear and easy to check for errors.
Yeah.
But did they actually put this sampling-based search to the test? Did they try it out in any real-world problems?
They did, and this is where it gets really interesting. They decided to use a notoriously difficult math competition called the AIM.
Oh, wow. The AIM. That's like a high school math competition, right?
Yeah, it's designed to really push the limits of problem-solving skills,
I remember hearing about that.
even for really talented students.
Yeah, math competitions were never really my forte. But I know they're supposed to be super challenging.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So how did the AI fare against these AIM problems?
Well, what they found is that sampling-based search could help an AI model find the right answer
Hmm.
to an AIM problem, even when that correct answer was incredibly rare among the solutions that it generated.
So the AI was able to find a needle in a haystack, even when there were tons of other needles that looked almost identical.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's impressive. But wait a minute. If the AI is struggling to identify the correct solution, even when it's staring it right in the face, doesn't that kind of raise some questions about its ability to truly verify its own reasoning?
Yeah, it does. And that actually leads us to another really interesting finding from this research. They discovered that while AI models could be made to verify, well, they were actually terrible at it on their own.
Really? So they're like brilliant students who can solve complex problems, but they still need a teacher to show them how to check their work?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And to measure this, they created a new benchmark, a sort of test,
Okay.
specifically designed to evaluate the AI's verification skills.
So it's not just about finding the right answer, it's about understanding how to recognize a correct solution when you see one.
Exactly.
And it seems like even some of the most advanced AI models are still struggling with that.
Yeah, they are, and it raises some really interesting questions.
Like, why is that? If an AI could solve a problem, shouldn't it also be able to recognize the correct answer?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But it turns out that there's a lot more to it than that. It actually gets into some really interesting questions about the differences between how humans and machines think.
This is where things start to get really interesting. We're not just talking about AI anymore. We're talking about the nature of intelligence itself.
Right.
And it seems like there's still a lot that we don't understand about how our own minds work.
Absolutely. And this research is helping us to shed some light on those fundamental questions.
This is why I love a good deep dive. It's not just about uncovering cool new technologies, but also about exploring those big questions that really make us think.
Definitely. And we've only just scratched the surface.
That's right. There's a lot more to explore. And speaking of exploring, we're going to continue this deep dive
Yeah.
in the next part where we're going to delve into this concept of output style suitability, which is all about how the AI actually presents its solutions and how that can have a huge impact on its ability to verify its own reasoning.
It's a really important piece of the puzzle.
So stay tuned because things are about to get even more interesting.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into this whole world of AI.
Yeah.
We've been talking about sampling-based search and how giving AI more thinking time can lead to these pretty impressive results.
Right.
But as we kind of touched on in that last part, there's a lot more to it than just generating a bunch of solutions and seeing what happens.
Right. It's not just about finding any answer. It's about finding the right answer.
Yeah. And making sure that the AI can actually verify that the answer is correct.
And to do that, they need to be able to present their solution in a way that makes sense.
Right. So how does that work? How do you make sure that the AI is presenting its solutions in a way that's easy to understand and verify?
Well, it all comes down to what we call output style suitability.
Output style suitability. So it's not just about what the AI thinks, but how it expresses those thoughts.
Exactly. It's like imagine you're trying to explain a complex concept to someone.
Okay.
If you just start rambling and jumping between ideas, they're going to have a hard time following your logic.
Right. It's got to be clear and organized.
Exactly. But if you can present your thoughts in a clear and structured way using logical steps and precise language, then it becomes much easier for someone to understand and to verify your reasoning.
So it's kind of like the difference between a rough draft and a final paper.
Yeah, exactly.
The content might be the same, but the presentation makes a huge difference.
Right.
But how does this apply to AI? Do AI systems have different writing styles too?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes, they absolutely do. What the researchers found is that the way that AI typically expresses its reasoning, that chain of thought format, which is really great for generating creative solutions.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
It's not actually ideal for verification.
Wait a minute, chain of thought. I thought that was a good thing, laying out the thought process step by step.
Right.
So you can see how the AI arrived at the solution.
It is helpful for generating those solutions.
Okay.
But it can be a bit like a rambling story. It might meander or jump between ideas, and it may even leave out important details that would make it easier to verify.
So for verification, you need something more like a formal proof, with
Right.
clear definitions, logical steps, a hierarchical structure that's easy to dissect.
Exactly.
It's like the difference between brainstorming a solution in your head and then writing it out neatly in a way that anyone can understand.
That's a great analogy, and that's where this idea of output style suitability comes in.
Okay.
The researchers found that by guiding the AI to rewrite its chain of thought solutions into a more formal, mathematically conventional format,
Uh-huh.
they could significantly improve the accuracy of the verification process.
So it's about teaching the AI to speak the language of verification,
Right.
using a style that's more conducive to checking for errors. But wouldn't that limit the AI's creativity? I mean, sometimes the best ideas come from thinking outside the box, right?
That's a valid point, but even the most brilliant artists and musicians
Yeah.
have to learn the rules and techniques of their craft
Okay.
before they can start breaking them effectively.
So it's not about stifling creativity, but about giving the AI the tools it needs to express itself
Right.
in a way that's both creative and verifiable. It's like learning the grammar of a language before you can start writing poetry.
Exactly. And that has some pretty big implications for how we train and interact with AI. If we want AI to be truly reliable and capable of independent reasoning,
Uh-huh.
we need to teach it not just to find answers, but also to present those answers in a way that's transparent and verifiable.
And understandable.
And understandable, exactly, to both humans and machines.
So communication is key, not just for us humans, but for AI as well.
It's fundamental.
This is fascinating stuff. I mean, it really highlights how important it is to think about how we design and train AI systems.
Yeah.
It's not just about making them smarter in terms of raw processing power,
Right.
but also about making sure that they can communicate effectively and reason in a way that's transparent and verifiable.
And this is where things start to get really interesting because it starts to touch on some really fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence itself.
Right. And that brings us back to something you said earlier about the differences between how humans and machines think. You mentioned that AI models often struggle to verify their own solutions, even when they can be trained to do so effectively.
Yeah, it's almost like they lack this sort of self-awareness or metacognition that seems so natural to us humans. We have this innate ability to reflect on our own thought processes.
Yeah, we can step back and think about our own thinking.
Exactly, we can question our assumptions.
We can ask for feedback.
Right, and we can use that feedback to refine our understanding.
And it seems like that's something that AI systems are still struggling with.
Yeah, they are. They can be incredibly powerful tools for exploring different possibilities and generating solutions, but they often lack that deeper level of engagement and self-reflection that we humans take for granted.
So it's not just about finding the right answer. It's about understanding why it's right and being able to explain it
Right.
in a way that makes sense to others. It's about having that dialogue, both with ourselves and with the world around us.
And that's something that AI systems are still learning how to do.
It makes me wonder if we want to create AI that's truly intelligent, not just in terms of computational power, but also in its ability to understand and interact with the world. Do we need to find ways to foster this kind of metacognitive ability in AI systems?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that researchers are actively exploring.
This has been a really thought-provoking conversation. So far, we've gone from the technical details of how AI thinks
Yeah.
to these deep philosophical questions about the very nature of intelligence.
And it all started with this idea of giving AI a little bit more time to think.
Right, and explore those different possibilities. But let's not get too lost in the abstract. I think it's time to bring things back down to earth a little bit
Okay.
and explore how these findings are actually being used in some specific domains like math science and even creative writing.
Sounds good. I'm ready for that.
Welcome back to our deep dive. So in the last two parts, we've been really diving into this whole world of AI, how it thinks.
Right.
And especially, this idea of giving it more thinking time.
Uh-huh.
And we've seen how that can lead to some pretty impressive results, but I'm really curious
Yeah.
to see how all this plays out, like in the real world.
That's where it gets exciting.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Because this isn't just theoretical research, these findings actually have some incredible practical applications.
Okay. So we're not just talking about, AI solving these abstract math problems anymore.
No. This is real-world stuff.
Okay. So where are we seeing this technology being used?
Well, one area is mathematics. And we already touched on how AI can solve those AIM problems.
Right.
But you can do even more than that. It's being used for something called automated theorem proving.
Automated theorem proving. So you're telling me that AI can actually discover and prove new mathematical theorems?
That's right. It's really amazing.
Wow. That's like Nobel Prize winning stuff.
It is, and it just shows how far AI has come. By using these sampling-based search techniques, AI systems can explore this vast space of mathematical ideas. They generate multiple potential proofs,
Okay.
and then they systematically verify each one.
So it's like having this army of digital mathematicians, working tirelessly behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Searching for those elusive mathematical gems. But math can be a pretty abstract field. Are there any applications of this technology that are maybe a bit closer to our everyday lives?
Absolutely. Take science, for example.
Okay.
Sampling-based search is being used to analyze complex datasets, model scientific phenomena,
Hmm.
even design new experiments.
Okay, so it's like giving scientists this powerful new tool
Right.
to help them make sense of the world around us.
Exactly.
Can you give me like a specific example of how this is being used in science?
Sure. One area where it's showing a lot of promise is drug discovery.
Drug discovery.
Yeah, AI is being used to screen vast libraries of these potential drug candidates
Wow.
and identify molecules that are most likely to be effective against certain diseases.
So AI is speeding up the search for new cures and treatments.
That's exactly right.
That's incredible. And it's all thanks to, this idea of giving AI more time to think,
Right. More time to
to
explore.
explore those possibilities.
Yeah.
What's really amazing to me is that this technology is not limited to just, science and math.
It's true.
We're seeing it being used in creative fields too.
Oh, yeah, like writing, music composition. AI systems are being used to generate multiple drafts of stories, poems, even musical pieces.
So it's like AI is becoming this creative collaborator,
Right.
helping artists to, push the boundaries of their craft.
It's really changing the game.
This is mind-blowing. I mean, it seems like this sampling-based search has the potential to revolutionize so many different fields. It's really making me rethink what's possible with AI.
It's a really exciting time to be working in this field.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to remember this is just the beginning.
Right.
As these AI systems continue to evolve,
Absolutely.
we can expect to see even more, amazing and unexpected applications.
I think so.
Well, this has been a truly incredible deep dive. I mean, we've gone from, the technical details of how AI thinks
Yeah.
to these, really profound philosophical questions about the nature of intelligence.
Uh-huh.
And finally, we've seen some of these amazing real-world applications.
It's been quite a journey.
It is. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions.